Why, hello there. We got a new story trailer for Elden Ring at the Game Awards last night, and in addition, we got a companion article on the Bandai Namco European site talking about the history of the Lands Between. It helps to explain some bits of the trailer and flesh it out. That means that we got a ton of new connections, we've seen new things, and we have more mysteries. And I will go through the trailer and we will point out everything, and hopefully by the end we have a better idea of what we know, and we also know what is still out there and what to look forward as we get more information. Let's get into it. The trailer starts with these Nazgul looking riders who are covered in black, riding black horses, and they stole the Rune of Death, and in a coordinated attack during the night, they killed many demigod kin of the god queen Marika the Eternal, with the most significant being Godwyn the Golden. We did see a field boss enemy who looks similar to these black riders in the network test, and he only came out at night. With these riders being all in black and this enemy only coming out at night, I think it is worth noting that in the boss fight with Margit the Fell Omen, he says,
"Power in fear of the night. The hands of the fell Omen shall brook thee no quarter."
Could these riders be the hands of the Fell Omen? Are they even associated with Margit? The connection now is that they both seem to be associated with night. But we will get into Margit more later. For now, I want to talk more about Marika the Eternal. It says in the article that she is unable to prevent all of her kin from being assassinated as they are spread across the land, and she simply cannot protect all of them. This event drives her to the brink of madness in this surgical assault against her family and her empire. She remains an important but largely inactive figure in the story, making her mysterious to me and how she may factor into the current state of the world in the narrative of the game. She seems supportive of the Tarnished, providing a respawn point in the stakes of Marika, but whatever she is doing it from the shadows so far. Now let's talk about a new character mentioned in the story trailer, Godwyn the Golden. Godwyn as a name means friend of God. Godwyn was murdered by those who stole the Rune of Death, and he is mentioned as the most important figure who was assassinated that night. We see his body right after he was attacked, and his wounds evoke a couple things to me. The first is that Godwyn's wounds look similar to the cracking pattern of the man smashing the scepter against the dais in the 2019 announcement trailer. And Godwyn and this character are both similarly topless and they have blonde hair, so they look kinda similar. That being said, I'm not 100% sold on that being Godwyn. What is happening in the scenes in the announcement trailer and the story trailer here are different enough to warrant leaving the option open that these are two separate people. Because if you take away the similarity in the wound, not much beyond the general appearance is the same, and considering the game is heavily about a family of demigods, they could simply be related. But it is worth noting, and I am leaving that as an open question right now, and is a bigger discussion about how the announcement trailer and the story trailer are related. The other thing I wanted to mention about the appearance of Godwyn's wound is that it kinda looks like slash marks, which makes me think of the Beast Claw incantation that talks about Grank the Beast Clergyman, who was also called the Death of the Demigods. Who knows if Grank is involved in all this, but being called the Death of the Demigods and having a demigod murdered and it looks kinda like a slash is definitely a little suspicious. As his assailant departs, we see something writhing under his skin from the wound, making his body twitch. We see a foggy liquid with particles and it leaking out of his eye, which is not golden anymore. I've seen it mentioned that his eye appears tarnished, and from where I'm standing that's very likely, simply because the Tarnished are those who have lost grace and therefore they lose the gold in their eyes, and Godwyn has. But that doesn't make him a Tarnished per se, he is a demigod after all, but it does appear that the grace inhabiting someone does go away when they die. In the Lands Between history article on Bamco's site, it says that after his death, the Elden Ring was somehow shattered. I think that Godwyn was important and that his murder was key to shattering the Elden Ring, because I am speculating that Godwyn the Golden was the current Elden Lord. And I'll explain my reasoning by working backwards from the current state of the world. In the gameplay preview, Godrick is called Godrick the Golden by the narrator using Godwyn's title. And then in this Elden Ring tweet from November, we learn that Godrick's title as the Golden King is self-appointed. And the Elden Ring Twitter account confirmed that the title is a tool in his campaign to become the Elden Lord. I believe that Godrick has taken the title of Golden because that was Godwyn, the previous Elden Lord's title, the position he is vying for. And while we are mentioning Godrick, according to Twitter he was born a weakling and coveted the strength of his kin. He wanted power, and it sounds like he would go to any lengths to obtain it. Stormvale, Godrick's current home, is said to protect the remnants of a betrayal that shattered the lands between. It is very possible that Godrick was involved in the assassination of Godwyn as a means to become the next Elden Lord, or at the very least he took advantage of the assassinations as an opportunity to seize the power he coveted, which may have fueled the Shattering War between the demigods. Now let's look at this scene with Margit the Fell Omen. From this tweet, we know about Margit that the curse marks he bore from birth were another ominous sign for the royal family. And I am torn on Margit's involvement. If he was part of the assassinations, his motivations are unclear at the moment. Perhaps I'm reading too much into his movements, but he places that crown down so carefully it feels like reverence or respect or affection. This is a crown that seems very important, and given that in the previous scene Godwyn was murdered, I'm speculating that this belonged to Godwyn, who is the current Elden Lord. This is reinforced by the final lines in the trailer.
And so we inhabit a fractured world, awaiting the arrival of the Elden Lord. Unless, of course, thou shouldst take the crown.
And so I can't help but read some sympathy into Margit. Being born as a Fell Omen is a big burden to bear. If Margit was not involved in the assassinations, and maybe even if he was, I could see this as a moment where he steps away upon seeing the Fell Omen he embodies come into fruition. Or perhaps he is not satisfied with his fate and he is setting out to get answers. The scene of him setting down the crown and walking away is accompanied by the storyteller saying,
"The Elden Ring was broken. But by whom? And why?"
It feels to me like it's indicating that he is also questioning why this happened. Ultimately, right now, there's evidence both directions indicating Margit's involvement or that he wasn't involved, and that's a continuing mystery which I'm interested in, and Margit only becomes more important to the story and the world the more we learn about him. Even his presence outside of Stormvale is not a smoking gun that he supports Godrick. He may simply be opposed to the Tarnished seeking to become the Elden Lord for any number of reasons. This next scene is awesome. The scale of this battle is amazing, and there are a few things I want to point out. First, we see some statues of tree sentinels, and we saw this as a field boss in the network test. Next, there are these strange ballista bolts that look like they're equipped with sensors that are emitting some sort of poison or some sort of chemical that is bad for whoever it falls on. And we see that the coat of arms of the soldiers laying siege to the stronghold is that of Stormvale. So this is Godrick's force, and it is adding more evidence to the pile that Godrick is attempting to seize power by force following the shattering of the Elden Ring as he assaults a stronghold near the base of the Erd tree. Next is what is my personal favorite scene from the story trailer, and it is this battle between Radahn and Malenia. First of all, rip to the Fish Knight guy from the 2019 trailer. It is much more obvious in this trailer that there are Fish Knight partisans littering the battlefield, so there are tons of corpses everywhere, and that guy was likely just another one of the bunch who is now laid out on the battlefield. Also, it was kind of implied in the 2019 trailer, but now it's kind of confirmed that these knights are on Malenia's side, or they're at least allied with her. And damn, the Conqueror of the Stars, General Radahn, and the Blade of Miquella, Malenia the Severed, are so badass. General Radahn is huge and ridiculously has a very small horse that you can barely see underneath him, and the reason why his horse may not be paced might be explained by the sigil on his weapons. The sigil is the same as seen with the meteorite spell and the heavy meteorite fragment item, and as I've mentioned before, looks similar to diagrams of the Earth's magnetic field. This purple hue of this magic is seen in the sparks on Radahn's weapons, and also the gravitas skill from the network test. The uniting factor beyond the purple hue is that these are all said to be wielded by the Great White King with stone skin who ruled the Eternal City, which is now an underground ruin. His power all has to do with manipulating gravity, whether it is to pull enemies towards you or meteorites from the cosmos. And perhaps manipulating gravity to not crush your horse. General Radahn is not the Great White King with stone skin, but he sure seems associated in some way. In the other corner, we have Blade of Miquella, Malenia the Severed. She lunges at Radahn with her familiar prosthetic blade, which is cut off by Radahn, but she manages to catch the broken blade with her one good hand, ouch, and leap atop Radahn, stabbing him by forcing herself onto the blade to go deeper into Radahn as these adversaries lock eyes. It is wicked cool. And then Malenia does something. A big hair flower blooms and explodes, ending the scene, which we know from the storyteller and the article ends the battle in a stalemate. I'm not sure how to square the end of this scene with what we see in the 2019 announcement trailer. It feels like in many ways the announcement trailer is an older draft of the story trailer, which is very likely the opening cinematic for the game, but we don't know for sure. So this could be a change, or perhaps Malenia is teleported away as Radahn, kneeling, sheds some gold on the battlefield. Regardless, this battle is meant to illustrate the inability of either side to achieve victory. They're the toughest warriors who remain, and the history article explains that no side could maintain a decisive victory, even with great runes. This battle represented the skill and strength of both sides, but it was not enough. The battle was a stalemate, and the Shattering War would turn into a cold war from here on out, with no victor and no peace for the fractured lands between. So finally, let's wrap it up by talking about the storyteller. The storyteller has 4 hands and looks kind of doll-like, and if she's not, she has something really grody going on with her body as it looks cracked and broken, and it is worth noting that she has similar clothing to Malenia. She also has a big ol' hat, which recalls for me the spirit jellyfish from the network test, and in the ashes for the spirit jellyfish, it says, seemingly the lingering spirit of a young girl on an eternal search for her sister, with whom she'd promised to see the stars. And when you put Malenia's face alongside the storytellers, they aligned quite nicely, which makes me think there is a connection between the two. Malenia mentioned in the network test that she does not have a corporeal form, that she is burned and bodiless. She is also not a finger maiden, but acts as one for her character, and I do wonder if the storyteller does not have similar capabilities. The storyteller may also be a spirit who is simply inhabiting a doll in order to have a corporeal form. They could be sisters, they could be a duality between the 2 fingers and the 3 fingers. There are still a lot of possibilities. And there you have it, what I've pulled out of the story trailer so far. It really does a good job of connecting quite a few elements from the network test and what we've gotten from previous information, and we can start to see the form of the story, but we still have so many mysteries and so many more mysteries added from this story trailer. I think that one of the most interesting mysteries to me is the relationship of this trailer and the 2019 announcement trailer. As I mentioned, there are both similarities and differences. I was told that the 2019 trailer was an edited version of the opening cinematic way back when, but at this point I'm unsure if the story trailer is a newer version or if they're both pieces of a whole. Let me know what you think. I'm tempted to try cutting the two together for fun to see if there's any way that they sort of make sense with one another. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and if you want more Elden Ring lore content, like I'm reading item descriptions daily up to launch, and after I will be doing tons of lore content for Elden Ring, then consider subscribing to Lore Hunter channel. We are going to be going hard on this game. The more I get about this lore, the more excited I am about the game. It is a very cool world to me, and I can't wait to dig into it. But with that, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.